Now we turn our attention to the Eastern Conference and the 8 teams still alive on the road to glory. The Chicago Bulls began the defense of their title with a convincing blowout of the Atlanta Hawks. Led by Michael Jordan's 35 points and spectacular playmaking, the game was never in doubt.
Back to Michael. Makes the move inside. Fakes the pass. Oh, is it in? Need a 3 out of this, right? Oh, there. And the world champion Chicago Bulls are back.
Yeah, you can't get to the ultimate goal of a championship until you win the first one, and this is the first one. We got 14 more to go.
Meek responded with 37 points in Game 2, but the Bulls cruised to a 2-0 series lead.
Over Hudson. And the Bulls are flying. Michael Jordan to the reverse, yes. And it counts. Standing ovation from this capacity crowd.
The Knicks began their quest for a championship with what appeared to be a convincing win over the Pacers.
Charles Smith slams it home.
But Indiana fought back behind Reggie Miller's record-tying 17 of 17 effort from the line, and New York barely held on.
Starts looking for Ewing. Thompson's all over it. 6 on the 24. Ewing hits it.
You know, as I said, we dodged the bullet. We dodged bullets in this league, and we move on.
In Game 2, Pacers coach Bob Hill looked to his own big man for an offensive spark, and Rick Smits responded with a playoff career-high 29 points. But the Knicks fought back from a 12-point deficit behind the hot shooting of John Starks.
Starks, 3-5-3, his third three of the game. And the Knicks have taken a 2-0 lead.
History was made last week in Boston Garden.
First ever playoff game for the Charlotte Hornets.
Despite losing Reggie Lewis for the remainder of the playoffs due to an irregular heartbeat, the Celtics hung on to defeat Charlotte behind the inspired play of point guard Sherm Douglas and the veteran leadership of Xavier McDaniel.
It's a big offensive goal. Got it! Missed the fourth quarter.
I think any of us want to go down to Charlotte and with giving them a chance to win it down there.
In Game 2, McHale's heroics electrified the Boston Garden crowd. But the Hornets showed great poise in beating the Celtics and stealing the home court advantage.
And in double overtime, the Charlotte Hornets with their first ever playoff victory.
The Cleveland Cavaliers welcomed New Jersey to the playoff hunt with a rude awakening.
Raced it, already drive, wham with the right hand.
The Cavs destroyed Chuck Daly's ailing crew in Game 1, placing 9 players in double figures.
Back into hot rod, wham with the right hand.
We got to knock them out. They're there to be had. You know, it's just we got to go ahead and deliver the punch, you know. But it's easier said than done.
But the locals were restless, and Game 2 looked to be a repeat of Game 1.
Down to Wilkins, all alone, wham!
But Daly's Nets rebounded from a 12-point third-quarter deficit to tie the series.
Morris driving to the basket to Petrovic, who put it up and in, and now New Jersey leads.
Still time with 4. Robinson. Oh, what a play by Coleman.
We tip off our show with a wild, wild west, where 3 series went down to the wire on the road to glory. In Game 3, the Suns were looking to get back in it, while the underdog Lakers were thinking sweep.
The Lakers trying for a sweep in Game 3.
From the onset, the Phoenix Suns rained threes from everywhere. But the scrappy Lakers refused to give up without a fight.
How about that? AC's 6-footer banks in.
What effort, what effort.
But the relentless Suns were simply too much for the LA Lakers to handle.
We select practice 4 days, and we're going to be here for 4 days. So half done. We got 1 more to go.
And in this one game, the Suns would run roughshod over the Lakers.
The Lakers are struggling tonight. The Suns putting it away now.
We even it up, and we want to give the fans something to really cheer about in Game 5 in Phoenix.
Ames to Barkley with Worthy.
James Worthy was a scoring machine in the fourth. But Marley tied the game up in regulation. And when overtime came around, it was Miller time.
Well, if there was a championship fight, it went the full 15 rounds.
Phoenix's opponent in the next round would be the Spurs, who began their week with Game 3 against the Blazers.
J.R.
but the Spurs bench would frustrate the Blazers. And when Lloyd Daniels chipped in this David Robinson miss, the Spurs never looked back.
Didn't get it.
Game 4 was a dogfight. But David Robinson would be the top dog as he registered 20 points, 17 rebounds, 11 assists, and 7 blocks. And although the Blazers' Mark Bryant would force an overtime, in the extra period, David Robinson was waiting.
To the Admiral, spins and lays it in.
We now move on to the Houston-LA Clippers series, even at 1. The Rockets would make disbelievers of the Clipper faithful in Game 3. The Rockets exploded with an all-out offensive barrage that saw every starter score in double figures.
Slam dunk! The Houston Rockets come here and steal one in the Clippers' backyard.
In Game 4, the pressure was now on the Clippers.
The Los Angeles Clippers, it's do or die. One more loss and they're out. Their backs are against the wall. They've got to come up with all of it tonight.
And the clip joint was jumping.
Elijah gives chase. Norman.
The hero of the game was Mark Jackson, who put the game on ice with a clutch free throw down the stretch.
The game is over. The Clippers win. We're going back to Houston.
I'm glad we have an opportunity to go back to Houston, and hopefully we'll play like this in Houston.
But the Rockets had something else in mind.
Now to Wall. Smith. Will it count? Yes, it does.
In a closely fought battle, Houston would pull away down the stretch.
They celebrate at the summit. The Houston Rockets hold on and beat the Los Angeles Clippers.
Houston's next opponent would come out of the Utah-Seattle matchup. In Game 3 at the Delta Center, with the series knotted at 1, Stockton and the Mailman put on their usual show.
Stockton with Carl Malone. The Mailman. Carl Malone. From John Stockton.
But the hero for the Jazz was Jay Humphries, who did it all in crunch time.
Humphries to Corbin. Lay it up in here. Corbin. That's Ed River. Jazz take a 2-1 lead.
It's no time to celebrate. We won one game. The most important game to us is the one on Thursday.
Even with the raucous Jazz fans behind them, Utah could not shut down Seattle. Especially the red-hot Eddie Johnson, who had 24 points in 24 sizzling minutes.
He'll evenly. It's good. Eddie Johnson.
And the Sonics were heading home.
But we realized that Utah can beat us at home. We got to come out and play.
And early on, it looked as if the Jazz would dominate. But a season-high 70-point second-half surge, ignited by Sam Perkins, would catapult the Sonics to the next round.
A new guard in the NBA West, Sam Perkins from L.A.
Now we turn our attention to the Eastern Conference and the 4 teams still alive on the road to glory. The defending champion Chicago Bulls completed their sweep of the Hawks in Atlanta. And despite going down with a severely sprained ankle, Michael Jordan continued his incredible playoff dominance.
5 seconds to shoot. He goes for 3. He drains it. Michael Jordan has 37 points. What a performance in this series.
Battling for the right to face Chicago were the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New Jersey Nets. The Cavs took a 2-1 series lead and regained the home court advantage with a win in Game 3.
Nance. Whoa.
Suddenly, the Nets found themselves on the brink of elimination.
It's not over. That's what my attitude about it. It's not over until the last buzzer go off, and we're going to continue to do the things we have to do to try to get a win.
New Jersey got their win and forced a decisive 5th game behind an incredible 31-6 third-quarter run in Game 4.
Hey, let's go. 4 minutes. Robinson. Oh, no. Ooh. Feels good.
Nice kick down.
4-3. Got it. A great win for the New Jersey Nets.
But the injury-riddled Nets came up short on Sunday as Cleveland eliminated New Jersey for the 2nd straight year. Brad Daugherty's 26 points and team playoff record 20 rebounds ensured a rematch between last year's Eastern Conference finalists.
Here's Daugherty. And the Cavaliers are headed to another meeting against the Chicago Bulls.
The Charlotte Hornets continued their dominant play and celebrated their first-ever home playoff game with a 30-point trashing of the Celtics. And Del Curry found the shooting touch that had eluded him in the first 2 games.
Curry for 3.
Joe Curry has come into this ball game off the bench and has given the Charlotte Hornets the lift that they need in Charlotte in the hive.
But the proud Celtics refuse to give in, fighting back from an 18-point fourth quarter deficit in Game 4.
Sherman Douglas has a chance to give Boston the lead. He does. Are you kidding me? I do not believe this.
And then there was Zoe.
Warning, the shot. Game over. It's over.
While the Hornets advance to the conference semifinals, they'd have to wait to see if they got their wish. The Knicks travel to Indianapolis for Game 3 against the Pacers. But Reggie Miller's playoff career-high 36 points spelled doom for New York.
Reggie Miller. Another spectacular shot.
Doc Rivers responded in Game 4 by nailing 3 three-pointers in overtime as the Knicks advanced to face Charlotte.
Here is Rivers again for three. Unbelievable.
Oh, Doc Rivers came up big. Big.
With Patrick Ewing squaring off against fellow Georgetown alum Alonzo Mourning, the Hornets invaded Madison Square Garden Sunday for Game 1 of their best-of-7 series with the Knicks. And despite losing Larry Johnson for most of the first 3 quarters with a sprained right leg, the Hornets threatened to steal the home court advantage behind the inspired play of their super center. But Ewing responded with 33 points, winning the first battle of this war.
I won because we won the game.